way that Drakenstein uses their website, I mean, really uses it. It gets updated frequently, and it's a communication platform, which allows them to be able to push news and everything else on. And we also have tight integration from the Drakenstein website to their Facebook pages, and so we need to understand the two drivers of advertising on the internet as Google and Facebook, and they have very different approaches. It's not mutually exclusive though. So Google and typical websites are based on understanding what people are looking for. So people would search for something, and you need to understand your keywords. People would search for something and end up at a page that you've defined. Facebook's marketing approach is to understand who the people are. So you segmented the market, you know who you're trying to talk to, and you're pushing content onto those spaces in such a way that you can get an engagement and build a brand for the identity. And so you'll be able to lead back from Facebook back to a repository of data that you can be able to say, fine, how do I manage that? So in essence, most organizations, I don't think there is a way that you can say, let's not have a Facebook presence. But there's also no way that you can say, how do I take my web page and not put it in line with what people are asking for? So it's important to understand the distinction. But at the same time, while all this has happened, while all this has gone on, the world has changed so radically over the last 2 years. And the one product which has changed the most that I've seen changing on a weekly basis is the very product we're using right now, Microsoft Teams. A lot of people look at Teams and they assume that it's like Zoom. So we're just talking about something to act as a video conferencing facility. How do you guys use Team, France, or Dion? Anybody can tell me? How do you use Microsoft Teams other than for this kind of interface?
We basically use it as Zoom. That's all we use it for now. We are looking at it for the classrooms, to duplicate classrooms, etc. But currently just a normal meeting platform.
Niels, would it help at all if I shared with you a little bit of how we use Microsoft Teams? Yes. All of you guys. If I could share my screen and just demonstrate a little bit of how, and you'd have all received an email from me, from our system already last night, that says that you've been invited to a team that I've created. And all of your email addresses, all of you've got access to my space already. I've created a space. So the first thing is, you would notice that possibly if you look on the side of your Microsoft Teams, do you have calendar and calls, and do you have the same layout that I have? Or do you, I'm talking about the far left corner, right? There's this section here. You all have access to the same things on your teams?
Yes, basically.
Excellent. So at the bottom, if you said join or create a team, you could create a team. And that is really the heart of what Teams is about. Yes, you can use Teams to chat. Yes, we can keep track of what's happening on the side as normal chats. I can chat to anybody. As if it was any other form of chat application. But this is not the focus of Teams, because you'll notice that there isn't an easy reply button here. Teams comes alive once you've gone into the Teams button. And one of the things that we do is we create, whenever we start a conversation with in this case, for example, Hugenote Kollege. When we start this conversation off, we create a team around that. And that team, when I take a look at who the people are that are in that team, I would assemble the people around that team that says, these are the people who typically we're talking to, we're working with. And so the first thing that you'll notice is that we can, under this particular team, have different subsections. These each are called channels, and each of them can have different members. So I can say I can actually pull in for social innovation only those members of my teams which are relevant to that, and not give anybody else access to that. Inside of Teams, if I wanted to be able to start a communication with any of these, I could start a new conversation and say, let's demo Teams. And it's at that point that you could take a look at this and you could reply to this and you could communicate. So this replaces WhatsApp internally. And the nice thing about this communication platform is that it allows me to be able to here what in essence is like WhatsApp groups. It's around a given topic. Also, the next we'd be able to say any files that we want to share we can work with. If I take a look at each of these channels, each of them have their own wiki page they can work with. And on that wiki page, we'd be able to, any of you can, right now, if you've gone to this wiki page and you click in here, you could start editing it because I've given you rights to do so. You could also revoke rights. You could see that every one of these channels, I can add on a connection to your website. There's that section related to this channel. If I take a look at the social reformation channel, it has a website linked to it as well, and that website is going to filter out and look at the social reformation section. If we look at the general section, and you've all got access to this right now, so you know when you get a chance, you can take a look at that. So in your websites, you need to ask what is it that the public sees of my public-facing unauthenticated space, and this is what we're looking at there. And so you could access that from within your team. But more importantly, under general here, you'll see that for every one of them, we can take a look at files, whether it's files related to general, for administration, for any other area. You could take a look at spreadsheets. And in this case here, you'll see that I have created an Excel spreadsheet, which keeps track of, for example, employee absence. And yes, I can go into it from here inside of Teams directly. And using that inside of Teams, maybe a little bit slow, but allows me to edit and to work with it. And it takes a bit of time, so we can gather data a bit easily like that. So here I'm inside of the Excel spreadsheet. But sometimes all you want to do is take a view like that of that spreadsheet and let people who are in administration or any of these areas have a quick view of that as a web page. And so I've taken that Excel spreadsheet and we've dropped it into a page that you can see as an overview fairly quickly within Teams. So Teams is not just about something which can replace Zoom or for video conferencing. A very small component of it actually is about the video conferencing side of things. The balance of it is about saying, fine, how do we collaborate? How do we work together? How do we, and this is a complete document management system that allows me to track the versions of that, and I can roll back to previous versions. I can check it out so that nobody else can work with it while I'm busy working with it. And so it brings into stark relief, it brings into focus very clearly that what we have to think about is what is it that the unauthenticated person sees, and then we need to ask, once that person is authenticated, and to authenticate it in Teams is fairly simple. We're going to manage Teams, and I can go and add members, and I can add members to Gmail account. I can add members by email addresses from wherever they're at, And once they've been added, I can assign them roles either as an owner or a member, so they have more or less control. But importantly, with Microsoft Teams, there's more than just saying, fine, I can see my internet, because as you'll see with this thing here, we have an intranet as well associated to each of these, and these intranets are internal websites that are authenticated, that allows me to access the information, that allows me to work through that. I can't edit this and work with this within Teams. But as soon as you've got Teams, as soon as you are working with Teams, every one of these things, the whole of the Hugenote College actually has its own entire SharePoint infrastructure. And so that SharePoint environment has got everything that you see inside of Teams, but now you've got an entire SharePoint infrastructure that comes with that. So in this case here, you can now go and edit this if you have the rights. You can take a look at any of the sections and update it. You could make changes directly in here. You've got complete control and everything about SharePoint, which says that we can publish YouTube clips, actual video clips. We can work with just so much more information, and within that space, I can also look at the subsites of this whole thing here. So that's why we use Teams. That's and there's also, if I was just, let me just take a look at one other thing, and that is, if I take a look at our website. On our website, we use WordPress and we use PHP. So in the public space, this is my public space. And in my public space, I create a Microsoft Forms application that says, open up a support ticket with us. And this kicks off a workflow process that says that, who do we speak to next? And if you want to time with us, if you just said book here, this bookings space that says, if you'd like a consultation with us and you'd want to know who to speak to, you could be able to say, who's the people that can work with us? What are the products? What are the things that you're working with? And the right person, you can book time with us here. Now, this entire bookings system comes from Microsoft Office. So if I was to take a look at Office, and all of this is an extension of just the Office 365 that I think you're already investing in. So if I was to take a look at this and say in Office here, one of the things that we have is a product here hidden away called bookings. Whoops, which one is it? And so we use bookings here. Why is it hiding from me? There we go, bookings. And bookings comes with Office 365 E3, and it allows me to register all of my staff and all of the teams, and we define different services, and we'd be able to let who our customers are, and I take that and I immediately can embed that inside of a WordPress site, inside of any other site.